The Leffel, we had no idea we had that. It was buried elsewhere on the site, and we discovered that when we made the trails. On the lower path to the base of the dam, there were a bunch of bolts sticking out of the ground. I said, well, something is down there. Little did we know that those bolts were 140 inches long. But as we kept digging and digging, and the bolts we kept following them down until finally we hit the Leffel turbine. Fred Warner was at the controls, so he's an archaeologist, and we kidded him about archaeology with a backhoe, but that's what we did. They finally uncovered enough of the Leffel to get a chain around it to extract it. In the meantime, the excavation had filled with water. Groundwater had seeped in and started to fill the excavation up. When they pulled the turbine out, it turns out it was sitting on a thing called a draft tube. When they pulled it out, that opened the draft tube, and all the water ran into the draft tube and vanished. We have no idea where it went. So there is some kind of waterway underneath there that exhausts into the Blackberry somewhere. And we've never been able to figure out exactly where or what course that draft tube takes. We built our trail and we still had plenty of sand to fill that hole. So we refilled the hole with the draft tube in it, with the idea that sometime in the future we could come back and excavate that and find out where the draft tube went. I did some research and we found there was a Leffel catalog for sale on eBay. So I made sure we bought it. It was an 1877 Leffel catalog, and sure enough, you open it to the middle and there's our turbine. It's the exact machine we got. There it is in a beautifully drawn woodcut. And then there's a table of all the different models that they made. I was able to identify precisely which model we had, and it had all the parameters in it, and it told you the yield, the horsepower, for various heights of waterfalls. So we were able to determine from that table that at Beckley, with that waterfall, that machine could produce 42 horsepower. The unexpected bonus was in the back of that catalog, there was a list of satisfied customers. And so I went to Connecticut and looked for East Canaan, and there it was. It said East Canaan, Connecticut, Barnum Richardson sawmill. It was the 1877 catalog, so we knew the turbine was in place then, and it was operating a sawmill. It had nothing to do with iron at all. It powered the saws, and it would have powered shapers and things like that. Wallace didn't give a lot of details, but he did say they made moldings and things like that. So you're going to have molding cutters and planers and as well as saws. But it could have been finished goods only, for all I know. It leads you to wonder, though, what the relationship, since Barnum Richardson owned it. What was that mill's relationship to the main business of doing iron? I mean, certainly BR is going to need a certain amount of lumber to make things, especially things that wear out, but not enough to keep a sawmill going. Good heavens. So we don't really know, was that just a cash side business or what was it? I've also tried to find ads. Come to the sawmill, here's what you get. The only other mill that we know operating on the Blackberry in East Canaan was Lindell, and they made blinds and window sash and doors and stuff. You know, that's all milled stock. So maybe Barnum Richardson sold raw material to Lindell, I don't know. And of course, Lindell then morphed into the hardware store that we have now.